Hello, and thank you for joining us on maximizing your Pinterest strategy for retail. Today we have Laura Cameron here with us from Stitchcraft Marketing. She's the operations manager there. I'll let you kind of talk about what you do there and what Stitchcraft Marketing does.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Stitchcraft Marketing is a boutique marketing agency. We work with crafty entrepreneurs in the fiber and fabric space, and we help them with strategizing and managing their social media. So what we call the big three: Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. We do a little bit of Twitter and YouTube. We also help with ghostwriting blog posts or tutorials and newsletter campaigns.
Perfect.
So that's kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And my background is I have 2 business degrees. I did both undergraduate and an MBA, and then I worked outside the industry for a long time. But about 5 years ago, I am an avid knitter and yarn spinner.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of sewing, but I sort of wanted to find a way to link up my hobby and my passion with some of my background.
And you did it successfully.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We have a lot to cover today, so
Yeah.
I'm going to jump right in. First thing I want to talk about is discovery commerce. For those of you who don't know what discovery commerce is, it's basically getting your product or service in front of a consumer or prospect, even though they may not even be looking for that. Have you seen that online, in online sales or advertising in today's environment?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a ton of Facebook ads. Everyone has browsed Facebook and gotten ads. We've also seen them on Instagram and Pinterest, and we're talking about shoppable posts that make it easy for you to click a button and either add something to your shopping cart or find more information. And that gets more spontaneous shoppers. And of course, in the last year and a half, in pandemic times, we've seen that grow hugely because people couldn't go out and browse the way they normally do in fabric stores,
Right.
fiber stores, and anything that they're looking for, they have to find online.
Right.
So we've seen a huge growth in people buying through shoppable posts and kind of online discovering
Right.
what they're looking for.
Yeah. And you're speaking broadly to many channels on the internet. Do you
Of
care if we
course.
get specific to Pinterest a little bit?
Sure.
I would love to know about one's following. Is it important to have a huge following to make an impact on Pinterest from an advertising perspective, and then also on the organic side?
Well, so think of Pinterest like an electronic bulletin board. So it's a place that people go where they are looking to do something. They're looking to plan something. Maybe they're looking to learn a new skill. Maybe they're looking to remodel a home in their house. Maybe they're looking to plan a vacation or a party. And so people are early in their buying journey. They're just kind of exploring. And Pinterest is a little bit like a search engine where they can put in a bunch of keywords and get back a ton of information, but it's all visual, or at least
Okay.
a good chunk of what Pinterest does is visual. You get a whole bunch of photos and options, and you get to scroll through them, and then you can click on them to learn more information. And those are called pins. So kind of like you're actually pinning something to an electronic, to a bulletin board.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how Pinterest got its start. And those, you don't need to have a huge following. You just need to have content that people like and that people want to save for later.
Yeah.
So because when they pin them or share them with other people, you're getting engagement.
Sure.
And that's kind of what's going to determine how often you're seen on Pinterest.
Right.
They used to value followers quite a bit, but Pinterest has really moved away from that, which is sort of also our philosophy on followers in general. It's great to have a nice following, but if you don't have the right kind of people following you, the people who are going to engage with your content to take the next step to come in and purchase something or come to a demo or
Right.
come to a class,
The goal.
then it doesn't really matter how many people you have in the numbers. I mean, if you have 100 customers who will buy everything you do, you don't need more than that.
Right.
So again, you're trying to create content that pinners want,
Right.
as opposed to necessarily getting people to follow you.
Yeah. So I can already tell you're an expert on Pinterest. But I know you're experienced in other channels as well.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk about the difference between Pinterest, I guess from really a high level, like what are the biggest differences between Pinterest and some of the other channels?
Okay, well, Instagram and Facebook really want you to stay on their platform. They want you to put a shop in their platform.
Mhm.
Pinterest was always sort of a way to give yourself some referral traffic and to basically take images and a little snippet of text and give people a
Mhm.
way to kind of click over to your website and then explore and learn more. And Pinterest has developed a shopping catalog, and you can shop on Pinterest now. But Pinterest's goal was not always to keep you on the platform and kind of locked um, into their rubric of how to do things.
Right.
Like for instance, for a long time, Instagram didn't have shoppable posts, and so you can't post a link that you can click on in there unless you put it in your profile. You have to
Really?
do multiple clicks.
Okay.
With Pinterest, pins were always linked to a specific URL. So if you wanted to pin a product from your shop, even if it's not technically a shoppable
Sure.
post, it's going to take them right to the product on your page. So,
Okay.
I mean, Pinterest is a really good way to up your referral traffic and see people coming back to your site over and over
Right.
again. And we do recommend that people look at their metrics and look at their Google Analytics,
Mhm.
and that Pinterest be in one of your top 5
Right.
referrers.
Right.
Because there's just an opportunity to drive a lot of traffic to your site.
Have you seen that opportunity increase recently? Obviously, on everyone's mind, COVID-19, but even outside of that, have you seen the opportunity for advertising on Pinterest or just a platform as a business on Pinterest? Have you seen that increase?
Yes. I mean, Pinterest was already increasing before COVID, but Pinterest increased almost 2 times over last year.
Wow.
Everybody was home dreaming about the next vacation they're going to take, finding ways to learn new skills and new crafts.
Sure.
And so people were spending a ton of time on there. Also, think of Pinterest as not just a way to get your products out there, but Pinterest is also a way to share whatever is unique to you.
Right.
So for instance, if you're creating blogs or tutorials or videos, it's a way to share some of that content and get people to sort of come back to your website and build the know, like, trust funnel, and get them to like you and trust you as an expert resource.
Right.
And then they're also going to browse while they're there and hopefully
Yeah.
purchase.
Yeah.
So, it's a way to again, bring in a new audience to
Right.
your website.
So, again, you sound super passionate about Pinterest. Is it a better platform for businesses to advertise on, in your opinion, than some of the other channels?
I really think it's complementary. I think
Yeah.
it should be part of your strategy. I don't think it has to be the only thing you do. I mean, you're going to reach different demographics on
Right.
different platforms. Facebook is where a lot of the slightly older crafting generation skews. You get slightly younger on Instagram.
Right.
And then on Pinterest, you get people who are looking for new things to try, looking for new products. The other thing about Pinterest is that while people can be brand loyal, Pinterest serves up pins that they think are most relevant to your interests. So let me go back just a second.
Sure.
When you're using Instagram and Facebook, you are using it to promote your business.
Right.
Hopefully, you are curating your selection of goods and services to be what your customers
Right,
want. But
right.
what you are pushing to them is what you have to sell.
Right.
Pinterest spins that a little bit on its head because Pinterest wants their number one goal is to give the pinner exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
So they want to satisfy the user
Yeah,
all the
like
time.
consumers first. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's Pinterest's strategy, and particularly what they value right now, is recency and relevancy. Recency meaning, are you putting out good content on a regular basis? Is it new? Is it
Right.
fresh? Is it addressing what's
Sure.
going on right now? Relevancy being, how relevant is what you're pinning to users' interests?
Right.
And that's not specifically, again, like what you want to sell. What are customers looking for on Pinterest, and what do you have that fills that need?
Right.
And there is a really great free report that Pinterest puts out every year. It's called Pinterest Predicts.
Okay.
And if you Google that, I believe Sarah's going to put the link in the chat for that. And you
Perfect.
can also just Google it.
Yeah.
It is a free report that they put together every year that talks about the trends of exactly what they're seeing. It uses tons of keywords. It talks about seasonality. It talks about getting yourself prepared for holidays. and events throughout the year. And so that is a really great guide. If you take that guide and look at it,
Sure.
look at what products you have that fit into those categories, because that's what they think pinners are going to be looking for.
Right. No, that sounds like a super helpful resource. I don't want to, deviate here, but
Okay.
Going back to advertising, I think we're going to throw up a list of options.
Sure.
And my screen's behind me, so I'm going to have to reference it. But which of these do you recommend retailers that are just getting started with Pinterest? Which of these do you recommend they get in first?
Okay, so we're going to assume you have a passing familiarity with Pinterest. We are going to assume that you are already pinning things. The first thing I want to say is let's talk about what creates a good pin.
Sure.
A good pin has 3 elements. One, you're going to have a really good visual.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be a video or an image, something that's really going to catch someone's eye.
Right.
2, you have to have really good text. A description of what's in there, of what you're selling, of its features, of its price, those kinds of details that consumers are looking for. And 3rd, you need to have a call to action. What do you want people to do with this information?
Right.
And that kind of involves your link, sending them back to your site. You should be making those pins on a regular basis anyway, because you're driving traffic to your site.
Right.
But Pinterest also gives you a way to turn those into advertisements to basically boost those.
Right, yeah.
And you have 2 options there. One is a product pin where, like I said, you've got the image of your product, or you could use a lifestyle image, how people use your product. Let people imagine themselves owning your product and using it.
Right.
You've got your description, you've got your link, you need to have pricing information in there, and then you can boost that with a link directly to your website on where to purchase. And we'll get to Pinterest shopping options in just a second. The second type of advertisement you can do is a carousel pin. And that's going to allow you to put a couple different images in there. And these are really great because you can show different images of the product. If you have a product that has a front and a back, it's a great way to show a front and a back. It's a great way to show a very product-specific close-up of the features, and then also a lifestyle photo. You'll still get your text. You'll still get your link. So that is a way for people to look through those. The other fun thing about carousels is that they will show up as having multiple pictures, which encourages people to click through.
Right.
Like there's more to it than just clicking on the pin.
Yeah.
So Pinterest also has added a variety of other shopping features. They do allow you to upload a product catalog. They have just rolled out a shopping list feature, which sounds really neat. We're waiting to see that for our clients. The shopping list feature means that you can put pinners can put items on their shopping list that they want to come back to later. It means they're not going to pin them to their direct board, which means you don't have to find pins all over the place later. You have one shopping list.
Right.
The nice thing is that the shopping list will have all the informational features. It's got your price, it's got specs on your product. Sure. So you can potentially compare across products.
Right.
And then the third really cool thing is that if you have if you're including a link directly to your shop and the shoppable post, if you drop your price, people who have shopping lists, if your item is on their shopping list, they're going to get a notification that the price has dropped. So if there's a sale, maybe they're going to pounce on that because they're going to see right away that that price is different. So that is one of the one of the new featured shopping items. The other thing is that Pinterest has developed a verified merchant program. And, this is very similar to all the social media platforms have a verification process. Businesses go through that verification process. You'll need to provide some basic information. They'll need to confirm your website is indeed your website. Sure. They're also going to look to make sure that you have high quality merchandise, that your reviews are good, that there aren't any, outstanding claims against you or any of those kinds of things. And that gives buyers a sense of protection, that this is a verified merchant that Pinterest has vetted. Sure. The other thing is that then when you do shoppable posts, once your verified posts are going to be boosted in the algorithm because you are slightly more trusted than just anyone pinning.
Sure, yeah.
So it's going to get you a little bit more exposure.
You are a wealth of knowledge. Because these are things rolling out in what, the coming months?
So the Verified Merchant program started sometime last year.
Okay.
And exactly the details of what goes into it were a little bit murky at the time.
Right.
So we had to wait for a few people to go through the process
Right.
to sort of learn more about it.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that I get tons of information, if you're super nerdy and you want to hear about Pinterest and you want to go all in on Pinterest, there is a great podcast out there. It's called the Simple Pin Podcast.
Okay.
The owner runs a company that does nothing but Pinterest for clients.
Okay.
And so they have contacts at Pinterest, and their podcast is free. You can listen to episodes, and they will tell you all about these features and how to access them. And she interviews people who have gone through the verification process, who have uploaded their shopping catalog to Pinterest, those kinds of things.
Sure, yeah.
So that is free. You can find it in your
that's perfect.
podcast player of choice.
Yeah.
And they have some really good information. It may be a little too nerdy, and it, your clients may not have as much time to look into it, but that's on my don't miss list because that's how I stay abreast of all the trends.
Yeah. So I love the flow we're taking here. We're taking it at a high level, and you did a great job of explaining these different features. At least for me, I become overwhelmed sometimes when I'm looking at the opportunity to advertise and what the specs are there. So like the actual requirements of an ad. Can you speak to that at all? Yeah.
Okay. So advertising, again, you're going to create a great pin. You need to have your eye-catching image. You need to have your great description that's going to draw people in, that's going to engage them. You need to have the basic information, the specs on your product and the price.
Yeah.
You need to have a link where people can buy the product, whether it's actually a shoppable post on Pinterest or whether it's taking them back to the product page on your website. Those are kind of the specs for the pin you're going to create. Then for advertising, it needs to be content that you have posted under your brand. So you can't promote third-party content. It has to be in your account.
Right.
It has to be posted on your public boards.
Okay.
So basically, it is what you would make as a pin. You're just going to go ahead and boost it.
Yeah.
Then you have a couple different choices on how you want to boost it. You can, if you're just going for general brand awareness, so maybe it is a video tutorial, it's a blog post, it's something that gives folks a general idea of who you are and what you do, but it may not be a specific product. That you can basically use a cost per mile, which is going to give you, and I know these are confusing terms, but this is what you would select sort of behind the scenes in advertising. And that's going to give you a certain cost per 1,000 impressions. So every 1,000 times that your pin shows up in someone's feed, you're gonna get a certain charge for that.
And what is that number? Well, like to make an impact as a business, small to medium sized business on Pinterest?
It's really hard to say because every business has a little bit different budget.
Sure, yeah.
Usually what we suggest, and I will be the first to say, we do not do heavy advertising on Pinterest. A lot of our clients are yarn stores, fabric shops, small needles and notions makers. So they are not big companies who are going to put a lot of money behind advertising. They are, people who have a small advertising budget. So we start out with even just a few dollars a day, and we run something for 30 days. So if you've got $100 or $150 to, do some marketing testing, look at which of your pins are performing well, look at what products are your best sellers, and take those and experiment with boosting them for, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then go back and look at your data and see what customers, see which one is the most popular, what customers are engaging with the most, and then try and do more like that.
So even before you set your budget, you want to learn what works for your business.
Well, definitely. I think you should be on Pinterest for at least a month or two, pinning content and seeing how your content is being received.
Just from an organic standpoint.
Yeah. And first of all, it gives you the opportunity to develop more organic traffic to your website. Which, free traffic is always a good thing. I guess there is the cost associated with the time you spend, but you're not sending money out into the world and hoping for a return. So first see what you can do with your organic content and then start experimenting. As much as I would love to say marketing is a science, it's really a lot of experimentation. It's let's try it. This seems like a best practice. Let's try this. Let's go back and look at the data. And Pinterest makes it really easy to see your analytics. They'll show you your top pins. They'll show you even demographics on who's interacting with your pins, who's saving them, who's sharing them. And those statistics are really important because that's going to help you channel
Yeah.
what people are finding interesting and do more of that.
And I think I see that a lot in terms of biggest obstacles to overcome. People are scared to try new things
Right.
because they're seeing either big businesses or other competitors doing
Exactly.
certain things, and that seems overwhelming to them. But I think if you have an idea, get out there and try it and learn from that, and then let's talk about budget.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, and the other thing that Pinterest makes really easy is, so if you're trying to figure out what pinners are looking for, start typing some of your keywords in the search bar and look at what comes up.
Yeah.
Look at the autocompletes that it suggests.
Yeah.
That's what people are looking for.
And
Those
it sounds
are
simple, but
Right.
that makes total sense.
Look at the phrases that people are using. Do those phrases apply to your products? Or what products do you have that would fit into those phrases?
Right.
The other thing I'll say on Pinterest is, if you feel like you don't know how to make a good pen, if you feel like you don't know what's eye-catching, go look.
Yeah.
You know, put in the keywords
Totally.
for your business or product and start scrolling.
Absolutely.
Like, look at what other people are doing. You don't want to copy them directly, but you do definitely, you can learn from what other people are doing and what other people are having success with.
Absolutely. Okay. So the longer we talk about Pinterest, the more I actually start thinking about Etsy, which two totally different platforms, and people watching may not be on both. They may be on one and not the other. But can you talk about the relationship between those two and how utilizing both might be even more impactful than just using one?
Sure. Well, so Etsy has long been a platform for selling kind of craft-focused items, either materials to make crafts or finished goods.
Right.
Pinterest really has kind of doubled down, as it were, on creating its tools to interact very seamlessly with Etsy.
Sure.
We're about 40% of pins on Pinterest are from Etsy.
Really?
So people are really looking for either finished craft goods items for their homes, or they're looking for supplies to make things. Pinterest has made it really easy to interact with Etsy. They have some buttons where you can automatically save your listings from Etsy on Pinterest, and they're saved as rich pins, meaning it brings in all the information, the description, the price, and it will send people directly back to your Etsy shop to purchase a product.
Sure.
Pinterest also tends to prioritize Etsy listings in the algorithm. Now, the one caveat here, and I should go back, this is kind of a beginning basic thing. When you start Pinterest,
we don't know the level of expertise of our audience. So I love that you're hitting, some of the really granular stuff, but also very high level. So yeah, go ahead.
So when you start Pinterest, the first thing you want to do is you want to set it up as a business account. This gives you access to a whole variety of features, one of which is claiming your sites. When you go through the process of setting up your profile, you can claim your different sites. You can claim your social media channels, you can claim your website, and you can claim your Etsy shop. The reason you want to do this is because Pinterest is going to push those further up in the algorithm, because it used to be that Pinterest was a place where everybody shared and repinned content. And these days, Pinterest is really focused on what you have to offer other people. So you want to prove that you want to verify your, basically claiming it's not the verified merchant program, but it's basically verifying that when people are purchasing from you, they're purchasing from a legit website. And if you claim those, then your listings are going to be pushed higher up in the profile. So I think Pinterest and Etsy are a bit different. I mean, Pinterest is very much a search engine for people looking for ideas. And Etsy, I think you're going to be doing, you enter Etsy with a little bit more of a shopping focus than just looking for ideas and planning and saving things for later. A lot of people enter Etsy with an intent to purchase. Etsy also has a really good search engine and has been around for a while. So I don't think that, they're mutually exclusive. I think they're really complementary tools. And I don't know that one would survive over the other, but I think you benefit from using them together.
What if Pinterest added in-app purchases?
Well, I mean, Pinterest does have in-app purchases at this point. They do have a shopping catalog, so you can actually purchase through Pinterest. I don't think you can do that specifically with your Etsy listings. Like to do the Pinterest catalog, I know that Shopify will carry items over, or you
Sure.
can enter items on Pinterest.
Right.
I think you get a slightly different audience browsing on Etsy. So I think it is beneficial to have that as your shop front and then also carry your listings over to Pinterest so people can find them. Think of Pinterest again as the thing that's going to drive traffic to your shop,
Yeah.
not specifically as only a shopping platform.
So basically, neither one are going away.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they'll both be here.
They're slightly different in terms of focus. Like I said, Pinterest is really like, what do you want to do? What are your hopes and dreams?
Sure.
You know, what do you want to plan? Whereas Etsy's like, we have these really great craft products and we're going to help support and showcase small makers in a way that, you know, they can get shops out there without having to invest in Shopify or their own branded website or, you know, back-end inventory and all kinds of systems that, I mean, and I say this knowing that you guys sell POSIM, which is a great point of sale system and information management system, but there are a lot of makers who just aren't to that level yet. Yeah,
right. So I don't want to like break that train of thought completely, but as we're thinking about retailers that maybe are not even on Pinterest yet, and we've talked about strategy a little bit, but can you break down what a strategy would look like for somebody who's not even entering Pinterest? And again, we've talked about it a little bit, but can you just give us like the tips there on how to get started?
Okay. Well, the first thing is I wrote a set of guides for Stitchcraft marketing, and they are free. And I think Sarah's going to put those in the chat, and she'll send those out later.
Well, don't even answer the question.
Well, no. It's a 7-page PDF.
Perfect.
It includes Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Each sort of guide sheet, which is a couple pages, has tips for how to get started, get yourself started with a business account. You know, fill in your avatar, fill in all your profile information. We talk about what makes a great post, how to make a post on each of those platforms, what things to include. For instance, on Instagram, you want to include hashtags. On Pinterest, you don't. Those kinds of things. We include a little bit of information on advertising, and then the final section of those guide sheets is what's been happening in the last 6 months. And I go back and update those every 6 months so that they are kind of what's new and hot and what you should know about. But those are real basic guides that I think will take you through the first steps of setting up an account, starting to explore, starting to pin. We have graphics tools that we recommend. So a lot of people have the Adobe Creative Suite, but for a lot of people that is entirely too much. I don't know if you guys use Canva. We use Canva quite a bit at the office. It can be a free platform where you can pay for a little more stock photography and some extra features, but it's a great way to design social media posts and graphics. The other things our guides do is they tell you the optimal size of graphics for each platform. Every platform is just a little bit different. And if you pay, if you have one of the lowest tier paying accounts on Canva, you can actually access the resize feature, which means, for instance, you can design an Instagram post and then hit resize, and it will resize it to a Pinterest post, and then you can move your elements around and kind of use the same image for your Pinterest, and then you can resize it to a Facebook post. If it's a YouTube tutorial video, you could size it for a YouTube thumbnail. So your graphics are real consistent across.
And it sounds easy to use.
Yeah, it's super easy to use. And the other thing that's really nice is consumers really like seeing a consistent profile. So for instance, if you're pinning something, when they click the pinnable image, it's great if whatever page they land on looks a little bit like the pinnable image. You know, it has the pinnable image, it has the same look and feel. So there's an opportunity for you to sort of develop branding around your pins and your graphics.
Right. Okay. Honestly, we're nearing the end here, and I know
it's a lot of information. I mean, I've been at this
it's all
4 years
so
now,
helpful.
So
yeah, no, that was all extremely valuable information. Very helpful. As a retailer, I can see any of that and all of that being useful.
Yeah,
especially on the strategy side. I think we're going to open it up for questions from the audience.
Sure.
It looks like, and give me some grace here, but I'm seeing one question. How many pins for business per month? So what's the right amount of pins that a business should be
I'm going to
creating?
answer this in a way that I'm sure people are going to shake their heads at. There is no right number.
Okay.
You don't want to flood Pinterest with your content. You also want to be pinning on a consistent basis.
Sure.
So if you're a shop that has 1,000 SKUs,
Right.
set up a pin or two a day for the next umpteen whatever. And
Yeah.
Pinterest does have a scheduling feature. When you can't schedule carousel pins, but you can schedule regular pins.
Okay.
So what I do, as an agency, the way we manage client accounts most efficiently is we batch everything. So for instance, I sit down on Monday and I basically draft out social media posts for all my clients for the week. And then I get them scheduled on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Okay.
And so I schedule a pin to go live each day on Pinterest. And it's just a little calendar. You just tell it what day and time you want it to post. And honestly, there's no optimal time either because users are around the world using the internet 24 hours a day.
Right.
So, and every time we look
That's
at the time
interesting.
statistics,
Yeah.
I mean, for US products, there is a slight trend towards, about 6 a.m. to about midnight,
Yeah.
roughly US time.
Sure.
There are the hours that people are very definitely
Right.
asleep. Of
Yeah.
course, they're not. But given that it's international, you can kind of pin or post at any time of day. And again, experiment with it and see when you get the most
Sure.
traction. But so for a lot of clients, I schedule 5 to 7 pins per week.
Okay.
The other thing I do, and this is also something new that that Pinterest has been rolling out over the last year or two, is they used to call them story pins. Now they're called idea pins. And these are getting a lot of priority in the algorithm, which is why I suggest you try them. Story pins or idea pins are basically an idea storyboarded through a series of images. You get to put together a series of images that might lead someone through a process.
Sure.
For instance, making your own bias tape. Maybe you have 3 to 4 pictures that would show you how to do that.
Mhm.
And then you could write a short description with steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. The only thing about idea pins is that they do not allow you to give a call to action. They don't allow you to link. You can still in there say, if you'd like more information or more crafty tips or more inspiration, visit our profile or visit our website. However, there is no clickable link. But those are getting pushed to the top of people's feeds.
Right.
And I think they're going to be an advertising opportunity in the future.
Sure.
The other thing to do is sprinkle in some different content. Video pins are huge.
Really?
Videos attract a huge proportion of viewers. And think about it. You are trying to stop people scroll they're looking through lots and lots of information and you're trying to get them to stop and look at something.
Yeah.
And something with movement in it is definitely going to stop them.
I feel like the most common rebuttal to that is videos are so expensive. But what I would say is kind of like what you were saying earlier. Just go out there and try it. You don't have to pay $3,000 to $6,000 for a production company to come in. You
Right.
can do a lot of your own videos.
So I say to that, I would say a couple things about video.
Sure.
One.
Please contradict.
No.
If I'm
No,
wrong.
I totally agree with you. Video is hard.
Yeah.
A couple things. If you are already developing any kind of video tutorials, if you're
Right.
doing Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, take a short snippet of that.
Sure.
Videos are probably only going to get about 30 to 60 seconds of a pinner's interest. So don't make them longer than that because there's no use.
Right.
Second of all, or third of all, your video should show something that is understandable without hearing the audio. A lot of
Right.
pinners scroll on their phone and they don't have their audio up and they're not listening. So if you're demonstrating, for instance, I see this all the time with food bloggers, how to make a cocktail. You can show someone how to make a cocktail by pouring
Right. Yeah.
5 different things in
Very
and shaking
visual.
it up
Yeah.
in 30 seconds. The other thing is you do not have to have actual video footage. You can cheat this. Take a whole bunch of still images and
Yeah.
pop them into
seen
an
that.
app
Yeah.
like Canva. You can do, and Canva calls them animations, where you can add in text, you can have things dissolve or fade or fly in, and put together a short 15 to 30 second
Sure.
video clip, download it as an MP4 file, and then upload it to Pinterest as a video.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually film a video
Right.
with studio production quality.
Right.
And the other thing I will say is, I put these together for clients and I try and do one like interactive media, like like catch their eye, stop the scroll a week.
Sure.
And then I fill in with all my other product posts.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, if one a day is doable for you, if it's not,
Yeah.
do it twice a week, 3 times a week. I mean, one of the big things that we preach at the agency is sustainability. All the platforms reward consistent content. So select a time frame that you can keep consistently. If you always post to YouTube on Fridays, like post to YouTube on Fridays. Don't skip a Friday because all your viewers are looking for it. If you post once a month and it's the 15th of the month, always do it on the 15th of the month. But you don't have to do a ton of content.
Right.
You just have to do the right content.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I know that's
no, that's great.
It's easy for me to say, but if you kind of test and watch your metrics, you can figure out what it is that people are actually looking for and try and do more of that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's a great answer. I'm looking up here because I'm getting questions fed to me. The next question from our audience was, should you use other social platforms to drive to Pinterest? And we talked about that a little bit from the Etsy Pinterest perspective. But obviously there's many more platforms.
Yeah. So for all my clients, we add a link to their Pinterest profile, or we add a link to Pinterest in their profile. So for instance, in Instagram, we use Linktree or link in bio, or something so that we can add multiple links. And oftentimes it's visit our website, read our blog, sign up for our newsletter, see our videos on YouTube, browse for more inspiration on Pinterest. You have to tell people a lot of times about something for them to actually go over and look.
Right.
So we also add our Pinterest icon at the bottom of all of our newsletters, which is, do you want more inspiration?
Right.
Go browse Pinterest. And it takes you directly to our profile. It might take you directly to, if we write a blog post for a client, say on, let's say it's Dresden quilts. If we write a post for them about that, we, at the bottom of the blog post, also link to the Pinterest board we've created for Dresden quilt ideas.
Right.
So, I mean,
it makes sense.
You use it as part of your social media, and the whole point is to get people to visit everything you're doing and then come back to you because you're a great source for them. So yes, we do remind people, we have a great Pinterest. We have lots of inspiration for you. Check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you think of advertising on Pinterest, or even just having an account on Pinterest and using it from the organic perspective, is there like an ideal type of business that Pinterest works best for?
It works for a lot of different businesses. I mean, if you're selling something, one of the questions was like software or non-tangibles.
Yeah.
If you're selling services or things that are not like a specific product they can hold in their hands, I think you have to kind of lean heavily into more lifestyle applications, which is, how is your product going to solve a problem that a customer has?
Right.
Or how is your product going to enhance their lifestyle, or as it may be, their work style? How is it going to help them save time? How is it going to help them do things more efficiently or more accurately? How is it going to help them improve their business practices? I mean, I'm kind of spitballing because I don't know exactly what product is being referred to here. I mean, Pinterest. The nice thing about Pinterest is it is at some level an equalizer, because anybody can post and anybody can share whatever it is that they're doing. And if there's someone out there that wants to interact with that, they're going to see it as a function of searching for the right things. So it's not, I mean, there is some level of pay for play, which is, the people who are out there spending it, Target is spending money advertising. And so you're going to see Target ads on there. Like, you just are. Mm-hmm. But it's also like Google search results, in the sense that it's going to bring back things that match your key phrases and the things you're trying to target. Right. So people are going to find you on there. Yeah. And a lot of times
that was one of the questions that we got from the audience. What role does SEO play?
I mean, I think it plays a huge role, because Pinterest, particularly in advertising, allows you to add advertising. Well, okay. Advertising allows you to select your keywords. Sure. And go for broke here. If it really relates to your product, use the keyword. Use as many as you can. It also allows you to exclude negative words. So if you have things that you don't want to target, you can also pull that out of there. You can target interests and hobbies. Again, use that search bar to find out what people are looking for, what phrases they're searching, to get to products like yours. completely lost my train of thought.
No, that makes total
But
sense.
so, I mean, keywords is key there. The other thing is video pins support keywords. So be sure you are tagging them with keywords. Also, your descriptions for your products should contain keywords. I mean, you know, a really engaging description is one that encourages somebody to look for something else. It's somebody to click on it and learn more and want to see more. But you do that by also telling them what you're about and what it is and are you relevant to their interests. And the best way to do that is to use the words that describe your product. And those are your keywords. Yeah,
yeah. And for anyone, and we probably should have started with this, anyone who doesn't know what SEO means.
It's search engine optimization, and it is a set of policies and practices that make it easier for people to find you based on the content you're developing.
Yeah, and not to get too technical, but Pinterest as a search engine, it's we'll say looking at even images, and it can't see the image, maybe necessarily. Maybe now it can.
I don't know.
But it can see the words you put behind that image.
Yes.
And that's how it's seeing what that image is associated with.
Correct. And also now Pinterest has added on pins, you can add alt text. Yeah. And I totally suggest you do that because that would help users with visual impairments. But also if they're on some kind of a platform that is blocking images, it will let them know what the picture would be there. I mean, I realize thinking about Pinterest without images is a little hard to do because Pinterest is so visually graphic. But, you know, take every opportunity you can to describe what it is you're selling in, you know, in rich terms. And in the photo, you want to describe exactly what's in the photo. You don't necessarily have to do the product specifications because that's going to be in your description. But if it's a bright blue fabric, you know, a bright blue twill, that's what you want to say in your...
And you'll be rewarded by Pinterest for doing this.
You will.
Right? Yeah.
You will.
And ideally, you're competing against all the other businesses also posting, you know, pictures and whatever products. So the more you can do, the better. And having knowledge like this allows you to compete with some of those other businesses.
Well, and so that's also something. So pins are basically promoted based on what the searcher is looking for. So obviously paid promotions are going to rank a little bit higher, but your pins are still going to be in there for people to see. One of the things you might think about, and we do this for clients, is we develop sort of a branded template, which is something that might have your fonts, a little watermark of your logo, your kind of general color scheme and aesthetic, and then plop your products in there. And you may have a couple different templates depending on the product. Pinterest users don't seem to mind a little bit of branding on their graphics. I mean, don't make it big and obnoxious, but if you want to sort of brand your photos and your graphics and your videos as yours, putting the watermark in the corner is entirely fine. And the more consistent you stay to your brand look and feel, the more people are going to recognize you.
Right. Okay. We are actually getting more questions. I think at this point, though, we're going to call it a wrap.
Okay.
And we'll address those questions in a follow-up email.
Great.
So we'll get your perspective on that as well.
Sure.
I just wanted to, again, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you. This has been super fun.
I'm blown away. I didn't even know there was that much information on Pinterest. So thank you so much. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Again, Laura Cameron from Stitchcraft Marketing. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and you all are welcome to send me an email if you have specific questions. I will throw out there, we also do what we call Stitchcraft office hours. We developed these during the pandemic, and basically what we do is we hold office hours on Zoom once a month. We do a short presentation on a topic of interest that we think you should be interested in or that you have expressed interest in, and then we open up the floor for Q&A. And you can ask questions about the topic we addressed or about anything. You can talk to each other. They're usually pretty small sessions, 10 to 15 participants. Past sessions are on our YouTube channel, but if you sign up for our newsletter, you will get all of that information. And if you sign up to get the social media guides, you'll be signing up for our newsletter and you'll get all the information about those as well. Perfect. So please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for hosting.
Absolutely.
This was super fun and kind of odd. We're both in the same city, so we got to do this in person.
First one back. It's great. I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.